Hi, welcome back. I'm Chris Hitchens, your college application coach, a member of Bethel Park Chamber of Commerce. This episode, we're going to continue on with questions from our mailbag, and we're going to interview Dr. Josh Evans from Advanced Chiropractic of South Hills and talk about his college journey. And also, Heather Campbell is going to join us from Club Z Tutoring. We're going to jump right in with questions. And this comes from Chris, and it says, this may be a simple question to answer for most, but when should my daughter start filling out college applications? She's a junior. Does she do it during the summer between junior and senior year, or should she wait until school starts again or wait longer? All right, here's what juniors should be doing right now. So we're in the middle of their junior year. They should, if they have not, they should be visiting colleges, at least plan on visiting colleges, maybe over the holiday breaks or spring break. And I suggest they look at a suburban college, an urban college, or maybe a small private college, just to give them something to compare. But they should be looking at colleges right now and through the spring, coming up with a list of colleges so they can investigate those things in the late spring and the summer. Seniors, they should be pretty much done with their applications right now. Sophomores, they should be looking for college or teachers that they can ask for letters of recommendations. Also, if they are a sophomore and an athlete who wants to continue playing sports in college, they should be looking at schools right now and contacting coaches probably this spring. Believe it or not, I know it sounds a little bit early, but that's what they should be doing. So she should be filling out college applications. The Common App opens August 1st, so that'll be right before she starts her senior year. Cindy asks, the more I speak to the banks, the more stressed I get. I am completely confused on what to do. Defer interest payments or start paying the entire loan off right now? Well, you should pay the interest right now. Don't defer the interest. If it's an unsubsidized loan, pay the interest right now. It may only be $20 or $30 a month. It will save you thousands down the line. Again, if you have specific questions you need me to answer, you can contact me at www.chrisjhitchens.com. You just follow the links, easy to find. Edna writes, my son has completed the Common App and is waiting letters of recommendation from teachers and counselors at his school. They have not yet to submit after having notified them 2 months ago. We sent follow-up emails, spoken to them about the urgency to complete ASAP, but to no avail. Should we submit without them, and will they show up later? So yes, you can submit the applications without the recommendations. They will show up later. But I have to say this about asking teachers and counselors for letters of recommendations. Too many students will ask teachers through an email or through Naviance. That is not the proper way to ask a teacher for a letter of recommendation. If I'm going to ask a teacher for a letter of recommendation, I'm going to go up to that teacher personally and ask them for a letter of recommendation. And these are my freshmen and sophomores. They should be cultivating, and even juniors, cultivating relationships with teachers. And so they have someone to ask for a letter of recommendation. So they should ask them in person. In addition, they should give them an envelope with an ask and a simple resume talking about what they've done through their high school career to give those teachers a hand. And then they can do a follow-up email and submit it through Naviance. And when they're done and they get the letter of recommendation, please write them a handwritten thank you. I know this sounds like a lot of rigmarole, but this is not part of a teacher's responsibility. They are doing the child a favor. And a good letter of recommendation can make a difference. So it should be an in-person ask followed up with a written ask and a resume and a thank you at the end. Tammy, we will be doing FAFSA next year. I currently still have about $90,000 in loan debt myself. I obviously do not want my kids to take out any loans. My question is, does FAFSA take parental loan debt into consideration? All right, there's a lot of things going on in this question. First of all, no, FAFSA will not take into consideration parental loan debt. Now, you're right, I obviously do not want my kids to take out any loans. Well, I'm not sure that's obviously belongs in there, and loans are not punishment. Loans are a tool, and if used a tool properly, it can be a huge benefit. So I wouldn't discount loans. I just seems you may need a little bit more clarification about how loans can help. And really, the amount that they're looking at potential loans depends on what schools they choose. So really, the process is going to start with choosing the correct schools and going from there. But starting with financials is important. But unfortunately, they're not going to take the amount you owe into consideration when they're considering your EFC. Gabriel writes, I just completed the FAFSA for my daughter who will be a freshman next year. I will have another daughter at another school starting her senior year in college. My EFC came back at $60,000. Does that mean that for my freshman daughter, the EFC is $60,000 or is it $30,000 per kid? Well, there's a button to click that tells you to ask you if you're going to submit another student, and you may have to go back in and make that correction if you haven't, but in short order, it's going to be $30,000 per child. Jennifer asks, I feel like I already know the answer to this, but there's no way to retake the math portion of the SAT, correct? My son may be confusing the subject tests, which aren't needed for a school choice, with the option to take just the math portion of the regular SAT. We're hoping to see an increase in the score for scholarship opportunities. Jennifer, there is no way to just take the math portion of the SAT without taking the English portion of the SAT. I would look at the colleges your son is applying to and see if they will super score. Many colleges will super score the SATs, and so he can take time now to brush up on the math portion, take the entire SAT again. But no, you can't just take the math. Nancy asked, FAFSA question, is the student's 529 amount considered a parent investment? It is considered a parent asset. Irene, okay, silly FAFSA question. Now, there's no such thing. When my daughter's putting in the value of her bank accounts in FAFSA, does she have to include all these kinds of banking apps like Venmo? I am just thinking that honestly, I'd rather her cash out her accounts for now. Nobody yell at me for asking this. Okay, no one's going to yell at you for answering this, Irene. So I kind of understand what you're saying. You want to take this money out of her, maybe a Venmo account or a PayPal account. It doesn't change anything. That is still considered an asset. So yes, that must be considered. And also to clarify, taking it out is not going to change anything. It's still considered an asset. Cash on hand still counts. All right, that was a quick segment. That's all I have for right now. Question and answers. We're going to be back with Heather Campbell and Dr. Josh Evans from Advanced Chiropractic of South Hills. Hi, welcome back to the College Application Coach. I'm Chris Hitchens, a member of Bethel Park Chamber of Commerce. In this segment, we're going to be talking to Heather Campbell of Club Z Tutoring of South Park. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Chris.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
I love it when you're here. It takes so much pressure off me.
I appreciate it.
What do you want to talk about today?
So today I thought we'd talk a little bit about learning and processing skills. So many times students feel like, I'm just not good at this.
I hear that all the time.
Whether it's math or writing or English. And I think it really plays into what their motivation is, what their encouragement is, their stress levels. Mm-hmm. If they already believe that they're going to fail, they've set themselves up. Yes. So really creating that attitude of achievement and self-assurance and things like that.
That's neat.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've heard the saying, success is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration.
That is true.
It's so important not to label your intelligence. You know, geniuses are made, they're not born. So it's so important so that children understand that if they're doing poorly in a class, there is somewhere to go. It's just not who they are. And I think that's so important when they're deciding their careers for the future and things like that, that they don't get pigeonholed into one set of ideas.
Yep.
And I know I do it myself. I was not a math whiz.
Right.
And I'm the first one to say, talk to your father whenever my daughter is doing it. But it's so important to emphasize the work ethic and not the talent. You know, the more that you practice makes perfect, the more you're going to understand. I know in my own drive, that in college I had to take a statistics course, and something clicked halfway through the class. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden I understood what the professor was talking about. So just constantly asking for assistance and finding ways to improve
I believe
is
100%.
so huge.
I hate to interrupt you.
No, absolutely.
I believe 100% that is true. I remember I took a graduate level class in nuclear chemistry at Penn State over the summer, right? And we're doing, you know, physics, the hardest part of calculus, and chemistry all together, and there's differential equations, and this was a nightmare. I mean, this is way, way, way over my head. At the end of the 6-week class, though, I had a grasp of things I would never, ever, ever in my wildest dreams think would make sense to me.
Which is so neat, to be able to understand those concepts.
I truly believe this aptitude is fluid.
Absolutely, and creating that passion for learning.
Right.
You know, not just sitting down and doing a workbook or doing your problems, you know, creating it in a real world experience. It's so important in every aspect of our lives, vocabulary and writing skills and speaking skills and math skills are just in every aspect, whether you're a business owner, an engineer, a teacher, author, a doctor. You need all of these skills every single day of your life, and just creating those moments where it's not just this is the learning time, but creating that constant learning.
Yep. I remember I just did the college essay workshop at South Park Library a couple weeks ago. Students came in and they were talking about how they were just not good writers. They couldn't get their thoughts organized. They didn't know what a college essay was supposed to entail. And we did a number of brainstorming exercises. We talked about structure. At the end of 2.5 hours, each one of them walked out with 2 versions of a college essay.
That's fantastic.
Just because they learned the structure, they learned where to, you know, get it, reach inside themselves and get information, how to pull it out, how to make relationships and correlations between their experiences. So yes, just learning something makes, I just see light bulbs go off all the time.
Exactly.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly. And there is a cycle of achievement and self-motivation. So there's a negative cycle that kids get stuck in. And usually by the time they've come to us and received tutoring, they've already gotten into that pattern.
Right.
And that's, they don't work long on a problem. They try to rush through it to get it done, to move on to the next thing.
Right.
They give up feeling frustrated. They doubt their problem-solving ability at that point, and then they don't solve the problem, which just reinforces the entire cycle to start all over again.
I like the word cycle, yes.
Yeah. And so we believe in building a love of problem solving, because you're going to problem solve your entire life,
neat.
whether it's how to get from point A to point B. Like for me today, a road was closed that I was supposed to take, and I needed to problem solve how to get here. So the positive cycle that we really build on creating for the students are working hard on the problem, taking that time. Students then feeling tired that they've spent that time, but they feel satisfied that they were able to come up with a solution. Trusting the problem-solving ability and that they're coming up with the right answer. They solve the problem, and then they have that light bulb moment, and then the cycle can start again, and they're motivated to try the next problem and to go through it.
They make connections. They can see connections between what they're going to be working on now and past successes, right? And I understand what you're saying, Rick. Just not problems out of the workbook, but how this can apply to real life.
Absolutely, and responding to problems and challenges in a positive way. You know, not becoming so caught up on those disadvantages or those poor grades, and letting it put you into that negative cycle, building a way out of that. And I have on here, laugh at your mistakes, because Thomas Edison tried 10,000 times to make a light bulb before he actually managed it. And imagine if he had given up.
Some beautiful perseverance.
It definitely is. And learning from your mistakes and your failures. I mean, that's just also a lifelong skill. You have to pick yourself back up and get back on the horse and continue to try.
That's such a wonderful thing to see, because you see it all the time, you know, tutoring, teaching, coaching, counseling, where you see the students who do persevere and they just need a little bit of guidance. You just have to point it in the right direction just a little bit. And sometimes just the smallest nudge makes a huge difference. And then it just kind of self-perpetuates.
Absolutely.
And they get good at it, and they get better and better, and they start to see connections that they've never seen before. And they're like thinking, oh, it was there the whole time. I just had to get, you know, turn on that proverbial light bulb.
Exactly. And as a tutor and a mentor, watching that happen just reinforces it in your own life over and over again.
Like I said, I have no doubt, you know, there are just so many windows and doors that you can open for people, and that they had no idea that they had these skills or these aptitudes.
Absolutely.
So I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. So that's really all I had for today. And, you know, I use it in my own life. I see it in my kids' lives.
Yes.
So, and I have all kinds of kids. They're not just my personal
not
kids.
Not just your personal kids, but your outside kids too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
I
thank
see
you
it too.
so much for having me.
I appreciate you being here. I love when you're here to do a segment with us. I think it's awesome. Again, this is Heather Campbell from Club Z Tutoring. I'm Chris Hitchens, College Admission Solutions, and we're going to be back with our next segment with Dr. Josh Evans from Advanced Chiropractic of South Hills. He's going to talk about his journey through college application and finishing up. Hi, welcome back to your college application coach. I'm Chris Hitchens, a member of Bethel Park Chamber of Commerce. In this segment, we're going to be talking to Dr. Josh Evans of Advanced Chiropractic of South Hills. And I'm very curious about his journey from the application part to the college, to the graduate work, and the entrepreneurial aspect of his job. Dr. Josh,
thank you for having me.
Here. So anyway, so you have the chiropractic practice, and that's in, is that in Mount Lebanon? They consider that
It's technically Castle Shannon on Mount Lebanon Boulevard. It's right there on the border.
Close to us right now in Bethel Park. Awesome. So, so were you always interested in a medical field?
I was. I'm a third generation chiropractor. So my dad still practices in Southern West Virginia. So it's always been the plan. My mom and sister are both OTs, and so got a nice family background in the healthcare field.
Do you think that was so that was definitely a motivating factor? So you always had something about math and science
for sure.
on your mind when you were in school?
Definitely.
All right. So where did you start off at college?
I went to West Virginia University,
good.
and I got my bachelor's in biology.
Okay. So I bet there's a number of students in the Bethel Park area who are looking at West Virginia University.
Yeah.
So that's neat. So you start off with biology. So if you're going to go into the chiropractic field, so is it a pre-med, or do you look at a science major?
Well, I know that for the school that I went to, for Palmer, you're required to get a bachelor's degree. I don't think that's the case for all of them, but I don't think majors matter as much as the prereqs. Okay. So I had a classmate or two, I think, that had degrees in business. But
really?
They had managed to get all the, I mean, it's a pretty heavy science, prereq that you need to get. But I think you can do it with just about any major as long as you hit those classes.
I really like that business medical field
really would have helped out a little bit now that thinking back, yeah.
Because we talk to kids all the time, and they talk about, they want to be a chiropractor or an accountant. And I ask them, do you want to just work in the medical field? Do you want to be an accountant and work in that area? Or do you want to be an owner? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to be a business owner? So those are, decisions they have to make, and at least things to investigate.
Right.
So you spent 4 years at WVU?
Correct.
And then did you go straight into...
No, I didn't actually. I moved to Pittsburgh, and it was going to be for about a year, and then was going to go back to school, and then life happens and experiences happen, and I ended up working for several years. So I only went back to chiropractic school in 2013.
Gotcha. Right. You would be, and people would be shocked to learn how many college careers do not go the traditional way, where you graduate high school, you get out, spend summer working, go 4 years of college, get out and get a job. That is not the norm. I mean, it sounds like that's the way it should always be. It wasn't that way with me. Wasn't that way with any of the other guests. So, that non-traditional path, your first chunk was traditional, but that non-traditional path to reach that end career, that doesn't happen that often.
Right. And, well, sometimes I wish I had gone straight through, but
Yeah.
if I had to do it over again, I would have done it exactly the same way
Oh.
because it gave me a good perspective into the real world and a little bit of added motivation. I think a little bit of maybe maturity too,
Yes.
going in as a little bit of an older student.
Right. I like that idea. So you go back, and so what? I don't. I have no idea what a chiropractic school and training is like. So tell me.
Well, we had we were on a quarter system instead of semesters, so our entire schooling was about 3.25 years.
Okay.
What was
right,
really
that's good
unique
to know.
about what we did was we focused on different regions of the body for each quarter. So one quarter may have been the cervical spine, and we would learn anatomy and physiology and neurology, adjusting techniques and things like that. And we worked our way down the spine and all the way out to the extremities.
Okay.
We also learned a lot about radiology, X-ray positioning, X-ray physics. It was really a unique experience, and where I went to school, we were fortunate enough to have a cadaver lab too. So
Okay.
we got to work
That's interesting.
at learning the anatomy, seeing it firsthand there, which was really cool.
But it was like, was it very similar to the college experience, where there were lectures and tests and projects?
For the
and
most
things
part,
like that?
yeah, there was a lot more labs,
Okay, right.
adjusting labs, technique labs, and things like that. But I mean, we sat in lectures pretty much all day.
Oh yeah.
You know, a lot of small groups, which was really nice. The school that I went to is actually the third biggest one in the world, but we still managed to have small group, one-on-one time with the professors. So it was really
I think
fortunate.
that's important. Yeah, we
Yeah.
talk about small liberal arts colleges or private colleges. Oh, there's such a small ratio of professors to students, and sometimes that's a huge benefit. What about electives when you're in that program?
Electives, I had quite a few pretty interesting electives. I was in the pediatrics club there for a little while to learn to work on children. And there's a lot of other different adjusting techniques that I had
Right.
never heard of, even coming from
Right.
the son and grandson of a chiropractor. So I did a couple of different adjusting electives. There were sports medicine electives. I mean, you name it. One of the things that I like so much about my profession is you can kind of make it your own. And with those electives
Oh.
that they provided, it gave you a pathway to kind of specialize in certain things.
That's neat, because I've heard you speak before, and when you talk about that pediatric adjustment to small
Yeah,
children
yeah.
or even babies, it seems like so delicate and
It,
so.
it is. And I had my first adjustment when I was about 10 days old.
Oh.
My youngest patient has been 3 months old,
Really?
and they typically respond really well. And it's obviously a little different than working on a full-grown adult
Yeah.
because their bones hadn't fully formed.
Wow. But
Yeah.
'cause, when you're speaking, I'm like, that is so interesting. I've had no idea that there'd be just a specialist just for the little kids. What about the business aspect? So you have your own practice
Right.
in Castle Shannon, Advanced Chiropractic of South Hills, and so did they give you training during your?
To an extent, we did get a few business courses. It was very general,
Okay.
general ideas. So I wasn't coming in completely, new to all of it. But
Right.
I have some good resources around me, and that's been probably the biggest challenge is learning to run the business
Okay.
and advertise and market. And
I think that's
all of
so. Making that connection is so interesting. I think that could be a struggle for some people. And I know you're thriving down there.
it's a good struggle.
Yeah.
It's good to learn how to do all this, and you keep your goals in mind.
Right.
And I'm fortunate to have found myself in the position that I am.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Dr. Josh Evans from Advanced Chiropractic of South Hills. I truly appreciate you
Hey,
coming
thanks
in.
for having
It's been
me, yeah.
awesome. I learned something all the time doing the program. So we'll be back next month. This is Chris Hitchens, College Application Coach. You can send questions in at www.chrisjhitchens.com and follow the links. I'm easy to find. We'll be back next month.